Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you're having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
Osiris is the founder of the Jedi Knights. D-J-E-D-I. You thought the Jedi came from Star Wars, didn't you? No, Star Wars copied that from the text, from the Kemet information. Osiris is the originator of the Jedi. I taught this in my Egyptian mystery school, which is on Forbidden Knowledge TV. So the Jedi Knights did not originate in Star Wars in Hollywood. They originated because they actually are part of the Osirian system. And who is Osirian? Who is Osiris and the Osirian? It's Orion, the belt of Orion. Those stars have planets orbiting them. The origins of the Jedi come from that region of the sky, according to the text. So we're talking about the constellation of Orion moving in coordination with Earth, with the alignments on Earth, which align with Orion. And it's said that those alignments happen every 13,000 years, which is right about now. And that when those alignments occur, the Jedi rise and awaken again. So we're living in the time of the rise of the Jedi right now. This is the time to rise and become the Jedi.
Who would have ever known? Like Osiris with Orion's belt and the Jedi spelled D-J-E-D-I. Just put a D in front of it. In the Book of the Dead. Wow. I never knew that. Right? Well, I can totally see where they get the story from now. Amazing. That's crazy. Now I want to watch Star Wars. May the Force be with you.
You know what I'll say right now? I don't give a fuck. I sold my soul. I went to a red room. Cheezer, Convi, Aiden, and Tav came in with red robes on, and they had blood stains dripping down their mouths. They walked up to me, walked around in a circle, and started doing a bunch of weird spells and shit, casting it on me. And I walked out after that, checked my bank account, $2 million in the account.
Yeah, he don't care. He bout it. Walked out. $2 million. Like, he's like, so what? That's crazy. At least he's honest. I give him that. But boy. What can you say about that? Let me know in the comments down below.
We just got the Jeffrey Epstein of the music and entertainment industry. The new lawsuit that just dropped against Diddy is massive, and it has photos, it has videos, it names names, and there's so much here that it's never gonna fit into a single video. So I'm gonna do a quick overview in this video, and then I'm gonna do a couple of parts breaking down all the different aspects of what's come out so far. We're talking crime scenes, we're talking photo evidence of celebrities like Cuba Gooding Jr., we're talking record label executives, we're talking hidden cameras in every room of the house, getting recordings of celebrities, executives, politicians at parties with celebrities and underage girls, with drinks being spiked, with drugs. This goes all the way back to the murder of Tupac and Biggie. We're talking about the entire rap and hip hop industry and the whole music industry at large. But to be clear, this is just opinions and speculation. These are not statements of fact. When I show sources in the background, like the court case, you should take those for just what they are. I'm not saying that all of this is necessarily real. So what's happened just now is that this man, Rodney Jones, who is a music producer that worked with Sean Combs, who is Diddy, he just filed this lawsuit. And he didn't just file it against Diddy, he filed against the executives at all of the companies associated and against the companies like Universal Music Group. His lawyers claim that he has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Diddy and his staff and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. It's illegal for lawyers to make these claims if they don't have reasonable belief that this evidence is legitimate and exists. They could get disbarred for making these claims if they're not true. And some of that evidence is present in this lawsuit, like when Diddy allegedly shot a man. And then the LAPD saw that room in the photo, the bathroom with all that blood, and were on the scene for hours and no arrests were made. They went with the explanation that Diddy told his staff to give, which was it was a drive-by shooting. Diddy made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. This guy. And all of Diddy's staff were instructed to contact Mr. Muhammad if they were ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. Diddy often bragged about having law enforcement under control. Although the deeper you look, the more it looks like people above him and above law enforcement had him under control. We'll go more into these cases in the detailed videos, but now the bigger picture. See, Diddy has been one of the most powerful people in the rap industry ever since the 90s when he founded Bad Boy Records. And he was only 24 when he founded it. He started his career as a non-paid intern at A&R until he was then fired in 1993 when he was 24 and founded his own label, Bad Boy Records, later that year. So how does a 24-year-old found a massive record label on his own? Well, when you dig further, you realize it wasn't on his own. It was with the help of Clive Davis, his mentor. And the further into it all you dig, you realize that Clive Davis came out as gay later on, and there's a lot of rumors that him and Diddy were in a relationship throughout this time. This is going to come up over and over and over just by chance. Clive Davis has been running significant portions of the music industry since our parents were kids listening to music, responsible for artists like Aretha Franklin, Alicia Keys, The Grateful Dead, then later Usher, Outkast, Pink. But back in the 60s and 70s, like Janis Joplin, Santana, Aerosmith, Pink Floyd, like, come on, read it. Jones specifically claims that they were trying to groom him to do gay stuff, which has long been the talk of the town in the rap industry by people that aren't with it. Diddy allegedly showed him a tape from a secret recording that he just happened to have of Jones's idol having gay sex with some white guy. And then Diddy apparently told Jones that he had engaged in gay sex with this redacted rapper and that redacted rapper and his idol, Stevie J. And apparently he also promised to make sure that Jones would win Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he did gay stuff on camera. Although, to be clear, he wasn't explicitly saying on camera, but Mr. Jones discovered that Diddy had hidden cameras in every room of his home. I'm going to guess that Diddy didn't learn how to wire a whole house with cameras on his own. Kanye has accused Diddy of being a Fed many times. Diddy's also been accused of ordering the hit on Tupac many times. And when Diddy was asked about this on a podcast, this was his response.
We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to even go there with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
When you start digging into allegations of the CIA, the FBI, the Mossad having tentacles in the music industry, you wind up at total rumors like this. Former CIA agent admits agency created gangster rap to fill private prisons by glamorizing criminality. Claims like famous hip-hop lyrics of the legendary hip-hop outfit NWA were even scripted by a team of psychologists and war propagandists inside the CIA, according to this former agent. Obviously, these are just totally rumors and conspiracy theories, no truth to this whatsoever. But it leads you to people like Leor Cohen, who might be the most influential person in the last 100 years of music, because he ran Def Jam and made Jay-Z who he is, including Redman, Method Man, DMX, Ja Rule, Ludacris. But it doesn't stop with rap music. We got Bon Jovi, Mariah Carey, Shania Twain, Elvis Costello, Ashanti, Nickelback, Slipknot, Sum 41, The Killers, Slayer. But then we've also got his protege, Julie Greenwald, that got elevated through this merger that he brokered and managed the Black Keys, Bruno Mars, Death Cab for Cutie, Jason Mraz, Kid Rock, Lupe Fiasco, Wiz Khalifa. That would be this Julie Greenwald. And then we've got Lucian Grange, the CEO of Universal Music Group. He's the one that is directly implicated and named in this lawsuit. It is alleged that he attended these parties with underage girls and with sex workers, and he knew that they were spiking drinks, etc., etc. But when you're talking about Diddy, you got to also talk about Justin Bieber, who was managed by Scooter Braun, along with Kanye West, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, etc. Scooter Braun is a really big player in the modern music industry. We also got Psy, Carly Rae Morris, Martin Garrix, Kanye West, Black Eyed Peas, David Guetta, Lil Dicky. So you might not remember, but back in the 90s, Tupac and Biggie were both coming up, and they were both talking about leaving their records that we've shown the people involved in those records already and starting their own. And Tupac was starting to speak out a little bit maybe about the nature of the industry. Diddy was close in the middle of that, and there's a lot of rumors that he ordered the hit on Tupac. Diddy sort of rose to power on the power vacuum of Tupac and Biggie both leaving the scene. And he has been manipulating and running a huge portion of the industry from the inside ever since. And this court case directly alleges with lots of evidence that he has been running a sexual blackmail scheme that entire time, promoting artists that would engage in the sexual blackmail scheme and then do their bidding there, because there's not just him acting alone, and pushing out, ostracizing, blacklisting, attacking artists that wouldn't. So maybe you should go back and listen to some of Kanye's interviews and see if he sounds quite so crazy after all.
Did he do it or did he not? 50 Cent is gonna have a field day with this. But yeah, man, this is crazy. Shout outs to Cancel This Clothing Company. Got these rabbit holes on lock. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
I mean, everything we see is a false reality. It's like Big Brother, The Matrix, whatever you want to call it. While we're watching each other, they're watching us. All the time. I've come up with a name for you, the White Shadow.
I'm white. I'm shadowing you. Very clever.
And I've decided that you're a figment of my overactive imagination.
Now who's hiding from reality? Just because you're paranoid, Huey, doesn't mean we're not out to get you.
Why me?
Come on. You underestimate yourself.
It seems to be getting harder, distinguishing reality from the illusions people make for us.
What's the matter?
You wouldn't understand. I'm being shadowed by a secret agent.
Who? Where is he? You mean like the Tooth Fairy?
No, I don't mean like the Tooth Fairy.
Sounds like the Tooth Fairy to me. You can believe in secret agents, and I can't believe in the Tooth Fairy?
Yo, the Boondocks. Shout out to the Boondocks. Probably one of my favorite cartoons of all time. But yeah, it seems like she caught the Agent Smith effect. If you catch my drift. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
The sheriff called me yesterday, and after he got done telling me everything inside this meeting that was happening, I pretty much was nerve rattled after what I heard. But I'm going to tell you what the emergency, what's behind this emergency for the solar eclipse, what's the deeper intel, and not only that, how they want emergency communication systems to be implemented, what specific groups they're going to be targeting. We're about to get into all that right here, and information that I did separate research to try to link up and confirm more on this scenario. So he gets on the phone with me yesterday after they have this meeting. Who's this meeting with? It's with Homeland Security. So, and he said there were New York instructors there. I have a list right here. I took notes of every single thing that he said because I couldn't record his voice. Obviously, he's trying to stay discreet. He said they were focusing on anti-people, anti-government people, preppers, Trump supporters. He even goes into deeper in the scenario what we're going to get to here in a second. But he said they didn't want the public to have any communication between each other. Any communication at all. And we told you yesterday that sheriff that came out and said it could be a potential terror attack. Well, we got more intel on what could actually happen in the solar eclipse, but just listen to this 23-second clip really quick.
But that's not all that he's concerned about.
That people want to do us harm, use an event like this where a lot of people are gathered to do some type of terror event.
The director of the Lake County Emergency Management Agency told me they've been preparing for the solar eclipse now for about 2 years.
They've been preparing for this for 2 years. Imagine that, for 2 years. That sounds like a lot of preparation going into that. And in the video yesterday, I told you the military is getting into a building that they won the Allied War in World War II, which is Idabel, which you can find that video after this video. But let's get into this right now. So they don't want any communications between us. And what is the big event that they're doing? This is what he told me inside of Homeland Security yesterday they were talking about. He said, during the solar eclipse, while people are all out there looking, they're planning, the intel that they've got is a possible on people while the solar eclipse is freaking happening. Yes, I just said that, while the solar eclipse is happening. And you're like, okay, well, where are they going to do that? Well, all the people out for the solar eclipse, I'm potentially believing could be targets. Okay, so this is not speculation. This is totally inside information about what they said. And they're talking about how the first responders' mental health, they need to prepare because their mental health is going to be very, very, out of whack after this. So when he told me that they potentially might be, that's the intel. Who's going to be doing it, I don't know. But however, I looked deeper, and then I seen that 3 weeks ago, none of us was paying attention to the fact that the FBI just had a training drill for and they're getting hospitals ready for it. So I want you to look at this video clip real quick and just look at what we all missed and how this lines up with the agenda.
Staff at multiple local hospitals are now better prepared to handle a potential emergency. The FBI spent time in 3 ERs today in our area, walking doctors, nurses, and other staff through what they could do in case of a 11 News reporter Elmer Mejia Segastumi is joining me live from Penrose Hospital, one of the locations that participated. An agent with the FBI told you that disasters like these help improve communications, or disaster exercises, I should say, help improve communication among staff and others.
Adam, a hospital official says that these drills are important in keeping the staff on their toes and prepared. They say the staff hospital does numerous drills throughout the years. It helps them determine what needs the hospital may have depending on the situation. Special Agent David Autry says no drill ever goes 100% perfectly, but they consider every drill a success because it helps them identify the things the FBI and hospitals need to improve on. Hospital officials say the disaster scenario was a toxin put in people's milk. The goal was to monitor how departments and agencies communicated with one another.
There's a need for all of us. There's no one single agency that can handle this alone. Again, we handle that law enforcement investigation, the lead from the federal side, but that includes our state and local partners from law enforcement, includes public health. When you look at a W&D event, it's going to require all partners to come together.
The FBI and local hospitals say that after these disaster scenario exercises.
Appreciate that super chat. Now, I have so much more to tell you. But please, while we're live right now, while you're watching this, share this out, more importantly, to your friends, to your family, to all the people that's going to be going to this solar eclipse, so we could potentially avert them getting hit with that is probably going to be dispersed on crowds when this event happens. That's the inside intel, and there's more intel than that we're finna get to right now. Target list, let's talk about how they're telling law enforcement in this meeting with Homeland Security, they're telling them on the population that, hey, look, we need you to enforce information because during the last everything got out of hand. We need you to track their cell phones, which they did in the last. We need you to basically be in control. And why you think all the communication systems are upgrading? You see all these counties saying, oh, we got to upgrade the communication systems. And then you see where they're having all these meetings and stuff like that for the communication systems. So the reason they don't want any communication between us, because they said how the public was distrusting all of them, how we distrusted them during the ongoing operations of the first. We're not just talking about what's happening in the solar eclipse, we're talking about the potential next plan, which he gets into here, and he talks about every single. And when I'm looking here, that's because I got this list. I told you I took notes. I wrote down all this stuff when he was talking to me on his phone call. So the communication basically is the reason why emergency stuff is coming out right now is because we're not going to have communication with each other. They're going to make sure that he said it's only going to be cell phone communication. Like, you're going to get emergency alert. Like I was saying, they're not going to be able to be like, you're going to have your Faraday bag ready, because the tracking system, somebody says, thank you, sis, Steven, appreciate you, no problem. So the emergency systems, you need to get your Faraday bags ready, because they're going to be tracking you actively. They're going to be looking into that. They're going to be basically trying as much as possible to get who's on the. So the next thing is they talked about a lot of different. We want to get into that right now. And he was talking about the deer situation, right? The zombie deer thing. He said that was one thing that they said was going to jump to humans, and basically since that's in a lab somewhere, you already know what's going on with that. They're whipping it up and they're going to try to make something jump. He also said that in this meeting with Homeland Security, they were talking about how they were going to be ready to lock people in their houses. And he gave me this map as well. So the map is pretty much, he said, this is public knowledge right here. And this is basically the map here. So whenever environmental supposedly disasters happen, this is the response in all the states, and they call this apple tree map. Interesting.
That was for entertainment purposes only, YouTube. But yeah, when you got a man like that sitting in the woods, yo, grounded. Ain't no telling where he was at. But take it with a grain of salt, right? Like the caption says, it's better to be prepared than scared, right? You know, make sure you have your water, your batteries, flashlight, things like that if the power goes out, you know. Shout outs to Sherry.Divine Light Codes who uploaded that. Some guy named Steven. And here's part 2.
We're back here live with you because we have gotten in our second call from our source, the sheriff that's been our source for at least over 6 months out on the public, but behind scenes we've been talking longer than that. Now we've got the other details inside of the Homeland Security meeting that he went to, and we're really about to break down some stuff, and we also need to think about a defense plan. So this is going to be very important. We're going to have all that in here for you. And the first video I told you, anti-government was a target list. Preppers, Trump supporters, that was the target list they initiated inside of the meeting. Now this next part, when I asked him more about the scenario, he said, I said, so is there any other things that they said in this meeting, day 2? Day 2, he said, and I have my notes here because again, I have to write down what he says, obviously for purposes of sensitivity. He said the day after the eclipse, people might be acting animalistic is what they said inside of the Homeland Security meeting. Hence, we get back to the, they might have to get medical attention if people start acting animalistic. So the behavior we're looking for is people acting animalistic post them dispersing whatever the scenario is. What's going on, everybody in the chat? I see you here, and I'm so glad you got out that last video. This one's going to be just as importantly critical because we got more stuff he talked about. That's strange though. Acting animalistic, he also said it could be to do with the event, or it could be drugs, but I'm thinking that it's. Now, what else he said? He said that during the solar eclipse, they also said in this Homeland Security meeting, and by the way, this is the meeting I'm talking about right here. Obviously, the dates was from March 14 and 15. I'm giving you the information now from him inside of that meeting. Blurred out some of that information he did for sensitive purposes. So check out the next big part of what I'm about to tell you though. Not only people acting animalistic, but you said during the solar eclipse, they talked about in this meeting, people having is a potentiality during the solar eclipse. And I'm like, well, it does sound. So I showed you the last video, the FBI was going and they were basically saying like, oh, well, if it might be something put in somebody's milk. And they were saying like they were doing biological drills in Colorado. So it gets even stranger from there. We're going to go deeper here into all of this scenario for you. What he said next to me was that only when communications go down, they all have to meet at a central location, and they want FEMA to take over and have law enforcement involved. Which my source, he said he don't trust FEMA at all, and I was like, yeah, I don't trust FEMA either. Now, this next part I gotta tell you is really wild, because like you go into thinking about all the predictive programming they showed us. This is what he said. He said more electrical companies, he went out and asked about this. He's seen the electrical companies, just like some of y'all said y'all seen. Their deadline is April 7th. They're upgrading. He said he talked to contractors. They're upgrading the black tarp and they're putting wires and all these boxes in and stuff like that. Their deadline is April 7th. That lines up before this event perfectly. And another thing that that's really important here that I'm about to tell you, that the martial law part. So when we get into the martial law part, you got to listen to this part, because they talk about going door to door, you know, the and stuff like that, but it's not just that. And obviously everybody on the list I mentioned, anti-government prepper, Trump supporter. But when he went into this next part, he said, look, they're going to have some type of a dome that they're going to try to put over populations. Because he said they don't have to use force for martial law. This is what he said. So let's look at the notes I wrote down here. He said they're going to have to set up command centers, and then he said put domes over large populations over multiple areas. I was like, you talking about like a dome over them? Like, you know, a quarantine dome? He was like, yeah. Now, I don't know if he's saying like multiple domes, but he's saying like the technology exists already. I already know it. I looked up multiple different times, and they've showed us in Simpsons predictive programming. They've showed us in a lot of predictive programming in movies that they put a dome for quarantine over a city. The stuff already exists. He said that's what inside this meeting they were freaking talking about. So that sounds like so wild. I know you're like, what? I mean, come on, I can't get behind that. But this is somebody who actually went there. In the beginning of the video, I showed you exactly what the meeting was. Also, I'm going to be talking about how hundreds of thousands of people, they're going to be on. This is the supposed scenario, which the military has been doing drills and all this stuff with CBRN chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. They're going to be in Oklahoma. Now check this out. In 2017, you know how we're talking about right now scenario, they put bacteria on the solar eclipse balloons. So what is our potential area that these bacteria stuff could be coming from? Is definitely the balloons. And we found out information on our own to look into where will these balloons be released, and they have tracking technology on them as well. That's another thing he talked about with communications. He said during the communication, he said only during martial law will people not be able to communicate. They will have FEMA wanting to take over, and FEMA, he said, is dealing with all the training right now for law enforcement and everything else in the disaster scenarios. He said Starlink will be used for law enforcement, not for the public. So obviously Elon Musk is Starlinks, and he said they're going to be surveillance technology, and during the solar eclipse they're going to be looking down at you anyway, because they already have the balloons they're going to float. And we're going to talk about where they're releasing that, because now people asked me in the last video, hey, well, I got you on for real. This is going to be like, if you can do the same thing you did in the last video, you can start sharing it out to family, start sharing it out to friends, because we're against an evil, corrupt empire. And the only way we can basically avert the situation is if we get this information out and we continue to expand upon what we did. I mean, this is what I came to do. This is what the mission is. The statement is against the forces trying to weigh us down. And not only weigh us down, bring us down in the health system, bring down the spiritual system. But the information we have right now is so powerful when you get it out just like you did last time. So next informational piece here. So going into this after all of that I just said, we want to go into this right now and what you can do about this and where is it releasing. Check this article out right here where they say, don't panic if you see balloons hovering over America's 2 upcoming solar eclipses. It's a project. NASA is a part of this project, which they're the ones who released the bacteria last time. This time, April 8, 2024, solar eclipse, some balloons will live stream video from the stratosphere 100,000 feet up to NASA Eclipse website using Insta360 cameras, while others will monitor for changes in the atmosphere 115,000 feet. They're monitoring for changes in the atmosphere during the eclipse, obviously because of the effects of the eclipse, but also we don't know if they're going to release it again, release some bacteria from the balloons as well. This is right here, the nationwide eclipse ballooning project is where this is releasing. If you look on screen right now, we're going to tell you locations to release. Maine, Plymouth State University, Goddard Flight Space Center. Where is that at though? You look on the screen right now and you can see exactly where that's at. Most of this is like right in the area where the eclipse is going to be going, just like I told you already. So check this out. How can you prepare? How can you prepare and avert?
Of course, that was for entertainment purposes only, YouTube. So that credit goes to JWTV here on YouTube. Shout outs to Sherry Divine Light Codes, who actually posted it on TikTok, and this is how I came across it. Like her, you know, this is really interesting information, you know, coming out about the solar eclipse. Me myself don't believe it all that, you know, he's saying, you know, I'm holding a positive timeline, right? You know, for everyone to stay in love and in light, and however that may be. But yeah, like when I hear about the balloons, every time I hear about the balloons, I think of the Joker in the first Batman movie in 1989, right? With the balloons in the city and throwing the money out to the crowd. Yeah, so it's best to be safe, you know? Be prepared, not scared. Stay positive. Stay in your light. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
5 places you absolutely want to avoid if shit hits the fan. Number 1, hospitals and medical clinics. Particularly if there's some type of pandemic or plague, people are going to freak out as soon as they start feeling ill, and they're going to rush to the hospitals and medical clinics, whether they have the illness or not. And what's going to happen when they get there? They're going to likely catch whatever it is that they were hoping to avoid. Number 2 would be supermarkets and malls. These places are going to be prime for looting by unprepared people. So hopefully you have food, water, and supplies already stocked so that when chaos strikes, you don't have to go out trying to buy last-minute supplies. Number 3 would be police stations and military bases. This sounds like a good idea because there's going to be security there, but they are going to try to bring order to everything that's going on, and they're not going to have time or interest in dealing with you. The worst thing that might happen is they throw you in the slammer and say, shut up, we have shit to do. Number 4 is going to be shelters and FEMA camps. Again, logic would say these places are going to have resources coming in. This is where the government is telling you to go, but you do not want to become a refugee. Services will run out, sanitation will go by the wayside. It's going to be a dangerous place to be. Last would be hardware stores and sporting goods stores. These places are going to be prime targets for looting. People will be seeking out personal security measures. You also don't want to be in the aisles with a bunch of crazies trying to compete for supplies. And let me know in the comments what places you think should be added to the list.
All in all, I would say avoid highways. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
This is one of the wildest conspiracy theories I've ever heard before. So there's this book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, which was written in 1893. The story is about a boy named Baron who lives in Trump Castle. And Baron became bored with his life of luxury and decided to go on an adventure. And on this adventure, he was being guided by a man named Don, who helped him find a time travel portal in Russia. Then the same author wrote a sequel 3 years later, and he titled it The Last President. The main plot of this book was about a wealthy man who lived on 5th Avenue in New York City that decided to run for president. Then shortly after he wins the election that no one thought he could, he's inaugurated and he selects a new cabinet member by the name of Mr. Pence. Then after his inauguration, since no one thought he would win, people erupted into violence and people started to riot and damage property left and right. So here's where it gets really weird. Nikola Tesla, who had claimed to have figured out time travel, had about 80 trunks worth of his life's work. When he died in 1943, the man responsible for collecting all of his work was an MIT professor by the name of John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle. And get this, after John Trump died, there's rumors that Donald Trump inherited Tesla's work. So the theory is Donald Trump used a time machine to travel into the future where he saw Hillary Clinton win the presidency, which then led the US into a complete collapse. So he traveled back in time, decided to run for president to try to save the country. All right, no more internet today.
Wow, I feel him on that one. I've been hearing about that book, Baron Trump, and hearing this conspiracy theory of Trump traveling into time. Even his uncle working with Tesla. But yeah, that's crazy to imagine. Couldn't be that far-fetched, you know, to get your hands on some of the equipment, you know. But I don't really believe in time machines. I don't know. Is it possible? You know, probably is. But yeah, this sounds far-fetched as fuck. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
The Chinese government is signaling TikTok probably cannot be sold no matter what bill the United States House and Senate pass. That means the Chinese government would rather see the app banned for the 170 million Americans who use it than allow a U.S. company to own it. That's what the Chinese government just signaled at a press conference just after the House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed a bill this week that would force TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to divest or sell its interest in TikTok to a U.S. company or face a ban in 5 months. Look, the rules for businesses in China are very different than they are in the United States. Everything is controlled by the Chinese government. And this isn't the first time that Beijing has taken this position, specifically on TikTok. The CCP said the exact same thing when former President Trump tried to force ByteDance to divest. Back then, the Chinese government determined any sale of TikTok would involve exporting Chinese technology, like TikTok's incredible algorithm. So a sale must be approved by the government. And in 2020, they put content recommendation algorithms like TikTok's on an export control list and said because of that, they would not allow the sale. And it seems like they're saying the exact same thing again. You see, the algorithm is the secret sauce that makes TikTok TikTok. And without it, the app just doesn't work the same way. And that makes it incredibly valuable, and the Chinese government knows it, and they don't want to give it up. Meanwhile, back in the United States, this TikTok bill is headed to the U.S. Senate. The fact is, yes, there is bipartisan support for this bill in that chamber, but whether there's 60 senators who are willing to vote yes to pass it is a whole different story. There are real questions about when the Senate could even take this bill up, because they're on recess for 3 of the next 6 weeks, and when they return next week, they have to pass a massive budget bill to avoid a government shutdown next Friday. So next week is a little busy. And even if they do take up this TikTok bill, several powerful senators have suggested they're kind of skittish about targeting a specific company like this. So in the end, the way the bill works and what companies it may apply to could change. Now, if this bill can pass the Senate and the president signs it into law, which he's already said he'll do, and then Beijing says ByteDance is not allowed to sell TikTok, then the only thing left for the 170 million Americans who use the app is a ban.
Dang, we was hearing that a whole bunch of people wanted to buy. But they saying they not selling. They understand the worth and the value. And I'm sure there's TikTok all over the world. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
Donald Trump is not going to be that bad. Don't run. He's going to make a Kia bring their ass over here and start building them desks and stuff in America, because he's going to make America great again. Let's go, Donald Trump!
I never thought Steve Harvey would ever be for Trump. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
No, ma'am. I'm finna tell my side of the story, because she already told her side of the story. What happened was I drove all the way up here to get a Plan B. And I like to come to this store because in my neighborhood, they always locking the Plan Bs up because people keep stealing them, like me. This store, I can steal as many Plan Bs as I want. And I'm only saying it on the camera because I didn't steal it. So when I go in here, I come and get a Plan B at least every other day. I need one every other day. I don't want any more kids. I walk inside the store, right? Reach up there, try to grab it, and then the lady yelling in a wheelchair, she on the little aisle talking about don't grab it because the associate is about to help her. Get up and get it yourself if you want it. I'm not finna not get the very last Plan B on the shelf just because you can't walk. Like, I'm not doing that. So I told her what I had to say, like, you should have got up and got it, or you should have got a stick or something, knocked it down. That's the reason I didn't go to jail, is because the lady came, rolled over my toe. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm finna do her in. Like, I'm finna just do this. I did not know people in a wheelchair, upper body strength is so strong. That lady pulled me down to her level and started doing my head in. That is so embarrassing. And no, I didn't steal. Before you said I didn't have a chance to. Yes, she got the last Plan B. But I don't know. I didn't go to jail, so I don't know why the news is out here. But I didn't bully nobody in a wheelchair. She beat my ass. That's just how that went. Yes.
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. Before we go, I want to give a huge shout out to Forever Faded on becoming the channel's newest member. I appreciate your support. Peace and blessings. And if you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. Because what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.